Okay.
everybody, and welcome to episode 30 of the Sharper Edge podcast with Betty Parker. I'm happy you decided to stop by and take a listen to what I have to say today regarding another people issue. And I'm joined today by the wonderful Sharon McGee, who is an expert in leadership herself. She's going to talk with me about a very important topic that we've seen crop up here and there as we've done this training and coaching and the work behind leadership. And today's topic is all about accountability, and specifically accountability in leadership. So I want to welcome Sharon. Hello, Sharon.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come chit chat with me in a way that I hope will help somebody, because the whole goal behind this is to offer substantive information to people
Hmm.
so that at least we can get them thinking about where they work, where they live, how they behave in certain spaces, what they allow, what boundaries they set, all of those things that help us to be better people in this world and interact with each other better. So, in everything we talk about, Sharon, I want you to think about how this impacts people, not just at work, but also in their personal lives. So I
Yeah.
want to talk about accountability and leadership. And oh, by the way, I should have pulled it up by now, but I'm going to look up the definition because I like the way it's written better than what I can say. But it is about us owning our stuff. And you've had a
Exactly.
lot of experience in your work. Give the people a little background on you while I look up this definition.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Middleton McGee, president and founder of HR Cares RX. I have a human resources consulting firm. I provide services to government agencies, nonprofits, and small businesses. So I do executive coaching, training, providing HR services, wage and salary surveys, all that fun stuff that falls under HR. The executive coaching piece has been very interesting in working with folks in leadership roles and the challenges they're facing today. It's been very interesting, some of the challenges that folks are looking at that are coming from leaders in positions where the leaders pretty much abdicate the role.
Mm.
They're leaders in name only,
Hmm.
and they want to tell you what to do, but they don't really provide resources and tools to help you do what needs to be done. There's so much, and I won't take up too much because I don't want to go into what you want to ask, Betty.
No, you're right on target, because when you're talking about when you first said it's interesting after you said you do executive coaching, yeah, that word is loaded, because the stuff that we see from people who are
Hmm.
at some of the highest levels in their organizations. I work with a lot of middle managers too, but regardless of the level of management, the skills are still necessary for all of those. There's
Yes,
some
ma'am.
specific leadership skills that need to be present. And to your point, some people are not, a lot of them are not using those to the fullest. So the one we want to focus on today is accountability. Thank you for that, Sharon. And I've been knowing Sharon for many years now. I actually did a little bit of work. First met Sharon
Hmm.
years ago when she was actually in an HR job working for somebody else. Now she's taking all of her expertise and she's putting it into
Yes,
her own
exactly.
business. But she comes with years and years and years of experience in that realm. So I really respect and trust the things that she says. Accountability is the obligation of an individual or organization to account for their activities, actions, and to accept responsibility for them, and to disclose the results in a transparent manner. How about that? So it's about owning your stuff.
Hmm.
Own your stuff. And the one thing that I find, Sharon, that I've been seeing here of late, we get the opportunity, because there's so much in media today, whether it's mainstream media or social media, but there's so much that's exposed to us as people who are, purveyors of this, and also folks who just kind of move around in these spaces and look at what's being displayed. So we can look at a whole lot of people who are in leadership positions and see their behaviors and their activities. We see how they handle difficulties. We see how they celebrate their people. We see how they take ownership for things that they do. And and the blame for the things that happen under them. And the one thing, I don't know about you, but the thing I see most often is a lot of finger pointing and blaming. I see a lot of, I
Exactly.
will take credit for the things that go well, but when things don't go so well, I'm going to point fingers at somebody else and throw them under the bus. Is that your experience? Have you seen that too?
That is my experience. That's what I'm seeing. Again, folks are abdicating their responsibilities that are in leadership roles. And again, like you said, yeah, if it's good, they're going to take all the hoorahs, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but then when it's bad, they don't take ownership of it. They'll pass it off to somebody else. Now they know good and well they've had their hands in it. They
Yes,
know good and well
yes.
they caused it, but they're not gonna own up to it. And they're gonna blame somebody else who probably wasn't in the room, didn't have anything to do with it, actually told you not to do it, but you did it anyway.
How about that? You know? And now we need a scapegoat, and they usually find
Yep.
somebody downline a lot of times, somebody who doesn't have a lot of power because these kinds of people don't empower their people. And so they're looking for somebody that they can just throw, to the wolves and say it was them, it's
Mhm.
their fault. But one of the things I believe makes to me, that's, let me just say this, that's weak leadership.
Oh,
Certainly
it is.
weak leadership. Yeah. Leadership is a difficult thing, right? It's hard work. Because the one thing I'm finding in terms of leadership is there's not a lot of servant leadership going on here,
No,
where the
ma'am.
people who are in leadership are supposed to be serving the people who are working with them, right? And their customers and all of that
No.
comes. But the real strength in leadership is being able to deal with the hard stuff. And too many people don't want to do the hard stuff in leadership.
Mhm.
Would you think
Mhm.
that accountability is hard?
Accountability is hard, but it's the right thing to do.
The right thing.
It's the right thing to do when nobody's watching. Um, Especially again, one of the things I've taught leaders or I've told leaders is, if you have an employee, and I don't care what level, you could be a supervisor, manager, director, whatever. You're supposed to, as a supervisor, the leader, you're supposed to provide your resources and trainings and tools to your folks in order for them to do a good job. If you take care of your employees are going to take care of you.
Absolutely.
They're going to have your back. And I've
Mhm.
seen it, I've witnessed it, I've been a part of it myself. And it's a circle, it's or infinity, I guess that's what they
Mhm.
call it, where
Mhm.
you help me, I help you, you help me, I help you. That's the way, it works. Well, it should work.
Right.
But some of the things that I tell my folks in leadership positions is, if you don't provide your folks all the resources and tools and whatever they need to be able to do a great job for you, guess whose fault that is? That's
Mm.
your fault as the
That's
leader.
right. Mhm. Mhm.
And if they mess up, you know, the buck stops at you. Now you have to deal with them. You have to tell them, okay, this is what you did wrong. This is how we're going to fix it, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, the buck stops with you as the leader.
Mhm.
And you have to take ownership of that. And then you put parameters or things in place so it doesn't happen again.
Yes. Yes. Because
And
people
you
will make mistakes, right?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna make
Mhm.
mistakes. We're human.
Yeah.
But owning up to those mistakes.
Yeah, leaders who don't own up to their own mistakes, you're not going to see it happen down line either. So if I show my people, because they say we lead by example, right? So if I show my people that I'm not going to take responsibility for the things that go wrong here, they're not going to take responsibility either. So you're going to hear people making lots of excuses when they fall short, and it's what you've taught them to do.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, if you don't have your people's back, they're gonna take all those gifts and talents to
Mhm.
someplace else. And
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say this: people think money is a motivator. It's a motivator, but it's not a
To a
top
certain degree.
motivator.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because for me personally, I walked away from a six-figure job.
Same here.
Walked away
Mhm.
because of how I was being treated. Um, they didn't value what I brought to the table. And so I quit. No job,
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to think about my health, my physical health, my mental health, and my
Yes.
spiritual health,
Right.
because
Right.
all of them had tanked.
I get it. I was in that same predicament. It wasn't bad, 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 but there was something that occurred that didn't sit well with me after being with that company for 15 years. And when you start treating the newer people walking in with more value than the ones who have been with you for a very long time and have been
Mhm.
loyal to you and have been
Yes,
with you through all the ups and downs as an organization, and then the new folks come in and they get all the bells and whistles, all the good stuff that you've had to work for years to get, they get it right out the gate. It says the value that you see in me is not the same as what you see in them. It seemed like a very
exactly.
desperate move on their part. And I'm like, okay, if I don't matter that much to you, then I'm gone. And the thing that happened, because we were such a small and a niche company, the thing that happened was when I left, I took a lot of relationships with me. So what they don't
That's right.
realize is for those of us who've been in some of that work for a very long period of time, we forged relationships with our clients too. And now when we leave, those clients no longer feel any obligation to that company because they were committed to the individual like me, especially
Yes,
when you're in a very competitive market and your competitors have basically the same product you do. They're doing the business they're doing with your company only because they like the person who's your representative. When they leave,
exactly.
when that representative leaves, you lose a lot, because you just
Hmm.
haven't. I mean, the value that they see in your company comes through the value they see in your employee. You should have seen that same value in your employee. So when we start throwing our employees under the bus because we don't want to take responsibility for things that go wrong, then we're saying to that employee, you don't matter that much to me. You're dispensable. So if anything
Exactly.
goes wrong, I'll throw you to the wolves and I'll just find somebody else to take your place.
Because if you kick a person too many times,
Yeah.
they're gone.
Yeah. So if accountability is about being answerable to the things that are occurring on your watch, then what how should one in a leadership position handle that? What should people be seeing from them, especially if you're in on a big stage? If you might be the leader of a large company where there are thousands of employees and you have your
Mhm.
big meeting, and if the leader is up there and we didn't have a very good year last year, what should that look like with from the leader? What should he or she be saying to their employees?
There should be transparency. There should be ownership. There should be honesty. Be honest
Yeah.
about what happened. We didn't have a good year because bum, bum, boom. But, we put some parameters in place. We're going to pivot. This is the route. This is the way we're going to go forward.
Hmm.
So being honest with your folks and just really telling them the real deal. And if you had a hand in some of that, maybe you made a bad decision. I made a bad decision. I made a bad choice. Maybe we did a merger that we shouldn't have done, or acquisition we shouldn't have done. Um, Again, just saying, letting the folks know, this is what happened. But
Hmm.
we're not staying here. We're moving forward. We want you to join with us, as we push this vision and mission forward. And we need all hands on deck.
Yeah. Yeah. The best example I see of that, I'm a big old football fan, so college and pro.
I know.
And when at the end of any game, especially if you've lost it, nonetheless, whether you're the winning coach or the losing coach, they have to get in front of that podium and talk to these sports people, these reporters,
Exactly.
and own
Exactly.
stuff. So I don't often, and you can see the difference though between those really strong coaches who say, listen, we didn't do well, we
Yes.
fell short here, we blah blah blah. They take a part of what went wrong and make it theirs, even though they're not on the field physically playing the game. They take responsibility for what didn't go right because it happened under their watch. And the same
Happened
rules
under the
apply
watch.
whether you're talking about in your household or whether you're talking about on your job, or even if you're running an entire country, you have to take
Mhm.
responsibility whether it was you who did it directly or not. It
Exactly.
happened under your watch. And so you have to say, my apologies, right? If that's warranted. My apologies. This fell apart. This thing happened that shouldn't have happened. And I'm going to make sure it never happens again. I see that as a strong leader.
That's exactly the traits of a strong leader. Is owning up to it. My bad. We messed up, but here's what we're going to do going forward. You can trust us. Um, you can trust us with, as a stakeholder, as a client, as an employee. You
Mhm.
know, we're going to move forward, and we're going to need everybody's buy-in and help as we transition or we pivot or whatever the case may be in that situation.
Yeah, I wonder if they think about the other side of that, though. I wonder if they think about these leaders who do this, just getting the monkey off their backs, or do they consider how their words fall to the people who follow them and look to them for leadership? Because I would dare think that the people who are listening to all of the things that their leader is saying when they don't own it, it sounds a lot to the people that it's just an excuse. When you don't, when it's not real, I'm going to grab
Authentic
hold.
or
Yeah.
genuine.
And there were some mistakes made. There were things that shouldn't have happened. And they talk through those things and explain how they realize they failed and the impact it has on other people and yada, yada, yada. They're saying that kind of stuff because folks are likely feeling those things when they
Yes.
bring it up. We, we know this was a huge inconvenience to you, or we realize that we hurt some people along the way, or whatever the fallout is from it. They have to acknowledge that fallout and then say, you know it's our responsibility to make this right with you, because
Yes.
now you're connecting with people based on where they are and how they feel, rather than, I didn't do that, that was somebody else's fault, I didn't even see it happen, I didn't know nothing about it, that one, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know. How can you lead and not know what's going on
You know
in your
exactly what's
organization?
going on because you gave the order. You gave the order to do it. In
Or if
some
you
cases,
didn't and you empowered somebody else to do it, then shame on you, because you're supposed to be the one leading.
yep, exactly. Exactly.
Either
Because
way, it makes
again,
you look weak.
there are leaders out there again that's giving up their responsibility and they're handing it off to someone else to
Mhm.
lead. You're empowering the executive assistant or the some director to
Mhm.
lead the organization. You're the CEO, you're the
Right.
president,
Right.
but you've given power to this lower person to make decisions that's going to impact your company.
Mhm.
I've seen that. I've lived that too,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was not good. It was almost tyrannical. I mean,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it was
Uh-huh.
it was crazy.
And it
It was
does
crazy.
produce a lot of chaos, doesn't it? Because people don't
Oh
really know
yes.
who's in charge.
Mm-mm.
And the other thing
Mm-mm.
is, what they don't realize they're doing is they're giving up their own power. So the more people see you sending or allowing somebody else to make your decisions or to do things on your behalf, the more that person becomes the de facto leader, and you have a title, but you're not doing the work of a leader. So why would they even want to go to you if you keep involving other folks in what should be your rightful role or responsibility in your role? I don't think they realize
Exactly.
that they're weakening their positions.
No, no. And a transformational leader would not do that. A performative one would,
Mhm.
because they're just the CEO in name only.
Now here's the one that bugs me. Um, the person who they're not taking responsibility. They're not doing the work, but they don't want to give the work to anybody else either. So it's almost
Oh
like they
yeah.
expect the organization to just coast on its own. They blocking
Mm,
everybody who's saying, "Shouldn't we be doing this? Shouldn't we be doing that?" No, 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 because I'm the leader. I'm the leader. But then you're not present. You're not making any meaningful decisions.
no.
Anybody who brings an idea, you shut it down.
Yep. Yep. And your company is steadily going down in the bucket, and you've got people around you who are smart in areas that you may not be
Yeah.
um, as smart. I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
smart.
Yep.
Um,
Or at least
but they
knowledgeable.
want to help. Yeah, they're very
Hmm.
knowledgeable. They want to help because they want the company to succeed. They
Hmm.
have a vested interest as well as employees. They have a vested interest
Right.
because you pay them, every 2 weeks or every month or whatever. They
Hmm.
got a vested interest.
Hmm.
But, and it's not just getting paid too, but it's how the organization looks in the community. It's how the organization shows up to their customers or clients. It's how the company shows up to the shareholders. So there's so many entities that are impacted by your organization and how it functions and how it performs. So
Hmm.
it's in your best interest to tap into those resources that you have, that they're right there to help you. um, Tap into them and rest your nerves a little bit, because it's
Right.
got to be stressing you out. It's got to be
Yeah.
stressing you. You got to be exhausted. You got to be tired. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do payroll. I gotta I gotta terminate this one. I gotta hire this one. I've got to do all these things. Why do you even have employees?
Yep. And I mean, and if I can't do my job as an employee, I don't want to be here because I wanted to work in this organization to use my skills and my knowledge, my
Hmm.
expertise, but I'm being prevented from doing that because I don't know, I have an overbearing or micromanaging leader who gets in the
Hmm.
way of my ability to be able to do my job. And so if I can't do that, what's keeping me here? And they need to think about that. They say great leaders surround themselves with people who are smart, who have
That's right.
expertise. Yeah, you don't have to do all the work as a leader. That's why you have people who can. You're there to make executive decisions, to collaborate with your team to find out what's in the best interest of the organization. And then ultimately you got to make the decision, but they will inform you, excuse me, in areas you might not know so that you can make wiser decisions regarding the company. But if you're only making decisions on your own, you're not listening to anybody else but yourself, and you're limited in your knowledge, then yeah, you were mentioning earlier that the company will tank, it just won't do well, it won't perform well. Additionally, I'm going to add to that the company can also become stagnant. So if we're
Yes,
not inviting in creativity and innovation and
exactly.
new ideas, yeah, we might function, but we're just doing this. There's no real growth, there's no
Mhm.
leveling up, and your competition who's been nipping at your heels is now going to just skyrocket past you because you're still doing this thing. They figured out
Exactly.
how to go here, right?
Exactly. And I'll give you an example. I mean, I'm a one person business right now, right?
Hmm.
So I've been doing everything,
Yeah,
including my accounting.
me
But
too.
I finally gave up the ghost this week, and
Oh,
I went to and found me an accountant.
yeah, I don't do my accounting. I don't know that stuff. I might end up in jail. So no, you got
Well,
to get you
that's
an
what.
accountant.
Yes. So I got an accountant because
Good for
there's
you.
somebody that knows this thing better than I do. I have reached my limit. I can't. Mm-mm. It
Right.
hurts my head too much. So I broke down and got an accountant.
Good.
So it's things like that, if you're in a leadership role, know what your shortcomings are,
Yeah.
and find somebody, like you said, that's smarter than me, that can do this work and keep me out of jail.
To keep you out of jail. For real. No, these tax laws change with every administration, so you don't even wanna try to keep that mess up.
Mm-mm.
There's somebody who's trained in that, somebody who is an expert in that, somebody who does that kind of work for a living, so
Yes.
I ain't wasting my
Yes.
time.
No,
Yeah.
no. My head hurt too much. Oh, girl.
But listen, Sharon, so in leading yourself, because I try to get people to understand that too,
That's
there's an
important.
acknowledgement of what you don't know and where your limits are. And that's what I believe a great leader does as well. They recognize,
Yes.
hey, I got to get some help here in this area and that area because that's not my wheelhouse, but there's somebody who does know. So
Yes.
to be able to, just kind of delegate that task elsewhere is an important
Mhm.
part of leadership too. This is all
Mhm.
accountability, though. This you are
It really is.
accountable to, yeah, your organization doing well. And when you fail your organization, I mean, that's on you. And so, how do we do this self-examination, Sharon? What do you say to your people who you coach who might not be owning everything that, they see within their organization?
Mhm. Well, depending upon the situation when they come to me, we look at what's going on and then we try to get down to the root cause. What is it that's happening in your organization? What are your people saying? Has there been a culture assessment done?
How about that?
I'm
Mhm.
doing one now.
I just recommended mine to a client of mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, "I don't think we," well, anyway, they had done one in the latter part of last year, which was great. So wasn't any need for another one this time. But she was a little bit surprised, I think, when I first mentioned
Yes.
it to her, because there's a climate survey, there's a culture survey. I kind of do one and the same. But go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry, but I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
say the
No,
same thing.
no, no. And the culture surveys will really reveal about what's going on in your organization.
Absolutely.
It would also let you know how you doing, how well you're doing, and
Mhm.
how you're not doing. So it's important to do those types of exercises just to get a pulse of
Yeah.
what's going on in your organization. Um, where are some areas that you may be weak in, and being able to identify those weak areas. And if you do find them, and it does make sense, then it's time to find some help. Whether that's a coach or whether you need to hire somebody, in that specific area to kind of help you with that.
Mhm.
If you've been making bad decisions, are you making these decisions by yourself, or are you reaching out to your team who may be more knowledgeable about the decision that you have to make,
Mhm.
listening to their feedback, and then taking what they're saying to you under advisement in order to make the best decision possible for your organization.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is an incredibly important suggestion to make to people because a lot of times folks think that if I do a survey, I'm looking for something that's wrong. And you can be doing well as a company. You can also find
Mhm.
out where your strong suits are, what you're really
Exactly.
good at. That survey is going to reveal a lot. Now, my only caution for some people who might over survey their people is, yeah, they'll get survey fatigue. But you have to make sure that you're getting um, some good, clear, honest, substantive information in those
Exactly.
surveys. And that once you survey somebody, you do something with what you find out. I like to
Amen.
tell companies, yeah, share the results with your people. Here goes that accountability piece. Own the parts that we're not doing well as an organization. Here's what the people are telling us. We asked their opinion. And so they gave us their opinion. So their expectation is we're going to do something about it. There's nothing worse than to survey people, gain input and insight, and then do nothing with it. What's the
Exactly.
use? Yeah, even asking people to participate in something like that. And so people you lose their trust after a while if there's no change. What is the most difficult challenge you face in trying to get leaders to be more thoughtful about how they lead? I'm not even going to call it accountability, but you do coaching, and so are there particular areas that you see you get pushed back on more than in others?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's when they think they're not that bad, when the people have told you that there's been some issues, that these are some of the highlights of where we could see improvement, and they don't believe it. That the ego is just that big, or they say, well, they ought to be happy they have a job. I hear that. We're compensating them, we're paying them good wages, we're giving them good benefits. They ought to be happy they have a job. No, that's not always the case. Yeah, they're appreciative of the job, they are appreciative of the salary, but they also want a positive work environment.
Absolutely.
They
Yes.
don't want to work in a toxic work environment.
Hmm.
It Toxic work environments can really impact, again, a person's mental state, physical
Hmm.
state. And leaders, there are some leaders who they really don't care.
So, as we wrap this up, what advice would you give to anybody you might be coaching on leadership about how accountability should be an essential part of how they lead?
I think when we're talking about accountability, especially in a leadership role, again, it's owning up to um, the mistakes that you've made. The transparency is vital. Being honest with your folks, building trust. Trust is vital when you're leading people.
Hmm.
Um, you could back in the days when you had the military and you had these sergeants and commanders, they built trust with their people that they would literally go into battle knowing that they could possibly not make it back home that
Hmm.
day. But
Hmm.
they trusted their leader, they trusted their commander that they were willing to give up their life because it was a great leader that they um, they admired, that spoke life to them, that encouraged them, that empowered them.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying we're going to do that for a company, but as a leader, it's important for you to have those types of traits
Yeah.
where your people look up to you as the leader and are willing to go to bat for you, especially if you get yourself in a situation where they know who you are, but maybe the media is beating you up, maybe your customer base is beating you up, and you're like, no, this is a great person. They did this with intention, they did this with heart. There was no malice there. Um, they did what they thought was the right thing to do. And so when you lead in that way and your people see you like that, that's a testament to who you are as a human being.
Hmm.
Not as a leader, but also as a human being, because
Yeah.
you have heart. And with
That's what's missing.
accountability, it's having heart.
Yeah, yeah, having heart. And I believe when people start leading from that position, you know,
Hmm.
you got to have a head in the game too, but I believe it comes from here, just like you're saying,
Yes,
because I can treat people like people. I can operate in their humanity if I see them as another individual, with the
exactly.
same needs and wants as me. And it tends to work in terms of weeding out bias and
Yes,
mishandling and mistreating people because of the personal biases you might have based on what you
exactly.
believe about that person and the cultural groups they come from. So there's so much more we could say about that. But we're at the end of our
Exactly.
time today. So I
Yes.
appreciate you taking time out of your really busy schedule to sit with me and to kind of parse out some of these things around accountability and leadership. I hope we're helping somebody. And I want to invite the rest of you, if you enjoyed what you heard today, continue to stop by, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate those who have commented on some of the things we said. We invite more of your comments, want you to get involved in the conversation. And by all means, if you're in a leadership position, use some of what you heard. This is free advice. Ordinarily, we charge you for this. So
Mhm.
you got the benefit of, yeah, free advice. Take advantage of it. Thanks again, Sharon. I hope you have a great week and a great week to all the rest of you as well. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Great.